Hello and welcome back to my kitchen for another Teen Steam Grab and Go kit. Today we are going to make a glider using nothing but a simple little piece of foam. So if you picked up the kit, what you will have gotten was this one piece of foam and a business card. If you did not pick up the kit, don't worry, you can get this from your supermarket. This was simply a meat tray that I asked, they gave it to me. I cut out the rounded edges to give myself a rectangle that's fairly straight lines, not perfectly square, but that's all right. I'm still going to make this glide. So other things that you're going to need, I gave you the business card. Actually, a playing card works a lot better. So if you have a playing card at home, you can use this. You will want a marker. You really don't want to use a pen or a pencil on this. You want something with a soft tip like a marker. Masking tape. You can use Scotch tape. Masking tape is going to be a better fit for that. You're going to want a nice straight edge ruler. If you have an X-Acto knife or a utility knife, that's good. If not, a good sharp pair of scissors will work as well. Then the other thing that you're going to need is a bunch of pocket change. So quarters, nickels, pennies, no dimes. Dimes are a little too light for this project. But nickels, pennies, a couple quarters, you'll be set to go. So we're going to get started. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to move my camera in just a second. I'm going to take this and I'm going to try to make it fly, and we're going to see what happens. Okay? All right. So I'm in my kitchen. I have my foam. I have a little bit of space. Let's see what happens. Let me move back a little bit. If I try to throw this through the air and make it fly. Well, that happened. It flipped around a lot and didn't go anywhere. So we're going to modify this to make this glide through the air. Okay, so the reason why this didn't fly is because of its center of gravity. Now the center of gravity on this, if I put my fingers roughly in the middle here, it's going to balance. If I put my fingers towards the front, it's going to drop down. Towards the back, it's going to drop down. So the center of gravity is right in the middle of this. So to get this to fly, our center of gravity needs to be at 75% behind the it's a 25% to 75% ratio. So it's a quarter of the, oh, someone's calling. It's a quarter of it. So which means that I would have to hold this roughly about here and it would balance out. So to do that, we're going to take some measurements to figure out how much this, how long, like what's the length of this, divide that by 4 and make a mark, and then we're going to take our pocket change and tape, and we're going to use the change to balance this, to make this so that it balances right in front here. So let's get started. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure this. So yours will probably be different. I can't guarantee that everyone's is exactly the same, and mine's kind of like not really perfectly square either. So mine looks like it's about 6.5 inches. Well, nope, not quite. Maybe 6. Let's say 6.25 inches. All right, so I'm going to take my calculator on my phone, because who uses actual calculators anymore? So 6.25 inches, a quarter inch in decimals is 0.25. So I'm going to put 6.25 into my calculator, and I'm going to divide that by 4, and I get 1.5625. All right, I have no idea what that means, but 1.5 is 0.5 is a half an inch, because that's 50%, or 0.5 is half. So I know it's 1.5. 625 is pretty small, so it sounds like it's just over half an inch. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with just over half an inch, or inch and a half rather, because it was 1.5625. So I'm just going to make make a mark here. So 1.5, I'm just going to go a little bit over the half inch at 1.5 inches there. And I'm going to remember where that is, and I'm going to do the same on the other side here. Half inch, a little bit heavy because it's slightly over. Then I'm just going to connect the dots. Alright, and that gives me my line. So now this line, this is where I want this my glider to balance. So if I put my fingers on the sides here and it's dropping backwards, I got to balance this here. So I'm going to start taking some change. Oh, actually, that's right. I need to find just the middle line here as well. So let's take a second to find the middle. So it looks like mine is 9 3/4. So half of 9 3/4. Let's do the calculator thing again. So 3/4 is 0.75, because if you have 3/4, right, you have 75 cents. So 3/4 I know is 0.75, so that's 9.75. This time I'm dividing by 2 because I want half of it, and I get 4.875, which I just happen to know is 4 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to make a mark, 4 7/8 of an inch, on the front and the back here. And I'm going to connect the dots. Okay. So I have my center of gravity at with 75% behind behind the center of gravity, and I just have a middle mark. So now I'm going to start adding change to on this middle mark at the front, at the nose here. I don't want it to be too far back, but I also don't want it to be over. So I just want to get it as close to the edge and right in the center as possible. So I'm going to take 1/4 to start with, because it's good and heavy, and that's a good way to start. You don't want to start with your lightest, smallest increments of change. And I'm just going to take a piece of tape and tape that on. You could also tape, you could actually wrap around if you want to tape wrapping around like that, but whatever. That's just how I do it. So now I hold it. It's still flopping back a little bit. So I'm going to go with a nickel. Let's see what 30 cents does. So again, I'm going to take my nickel and I'm going to put it at the edge. I don't want to center it on the quarter. I want to put it at the edge of the of my styrofoam piece here. Tape that guy on. Hold it. So when I'm holding this, I'm holding it very lightly. So if I just I could really just hold it right here and make it balance if I use enough strength, right? But if I hold it gently, it's going to flop. So that's what I want to do. I mean, if you have something you can use two paper clips and you know, straighten them out and stick them in. That's one way of doing it. That'll give you a really accurate measurement. But actually, it looks like I'm about there. So I have 30 cents, and it's balancing pretty nicely. It's not flopping one way or the other. So I found my center of gravity. So now I'm going to give this another shot and fly it, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to go a little bit farther back because I think that this might actually fly. So when I fly this, remember, I want to hold this at the center of gravity. I don't want to put my fingers in the middle, because then all the work that we just did is pointless. So I'm putting a finger on each side here, and I'm going to put it over my head, and I'm going to just try to, oop, you can't see that. Let me go a little bit lower here. So I'm going to try to put this over my head and fly it straight. And there it goes. I hope it didn't break, because it is just styrofoam. Alright, so you see that time, it actually flew a little bit. It curved off to the side and dropped down pretty heavily. But you saw the difference. It actually started to glide through the air, and that's what the difference of the center of gravity makes. So now we're going to make a couple more modifications to get this to fly a little bit longer and straight. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is using either the scissors or my X-Acto knife, is I'm going to cut a small slit into the back here. That's the length of either the business card or the playing card. So since I gave you all a business card to just prove that it works with a business card, even though I'm telling you use the playing card, it's going to work better. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to line this up. I'm going to put something underneath this, because I don't want to scratch up my table, because that would be foolish. And if you did that, your mom or your dad or parent or guardian or grandparents, but wherever you're doing this, they're going to get mad at you. So please don't scratch up your table. Put something underneath when you cut. If you're using scissors, you probably don't have to worry so much about this. But I'm just going to put my playing card so that it's about flush or even with the back here. And I'm going to cut along that center line that I did in the beginning, just along the playing card. I'm going to give it a couple little slices here. Actually, I may not have wanted to do this right away. I always get this part mixed up, which is the easiest to do when we're working with the back end of this. But I have a couple little cuts, so now I can fit my playing card in here. So this is going to give us balance. This is like the tail of an airplane. So remember how when I flew it, it veered off? So with this, now I have balance. So it's going to fly straight now. The last thing that I want to do, before I do that though, I can get rid of my cardboard as well, is I want to give it a little, I'm going to pick up very slightly along the back here. I'm going to raise it up a little bit. And that's going to give it a little upswing. So when the air hits it, it's going to keep the nose up. And I'll show you what I mean by all of that in just a second. So I'm just going to take my ruler here. My ruler's a little funky, but it should work. So I'm going to keep my ruler in the back. I'm hoping that you can see this pretty well. So now I'm keeping the edge of this just off the edge of my table. The ruler's flat along the back, but I'm keeping the edge so that I can get my thumb underneath. So like my thumbs are going to be like that far underneath, like that's how much room you want over the edge of the table for this. And I'm very gently, very, very gently pulling up. Pulling up. So my goal is to not break this, yeah, one of my goals is definitely not to break this, but to get this, yeah, so I think I did this backwards. I probably should have done this first and then cut the slit, but my goal is to get this so that you can now see it lifts up just a little bit. So when the air hits it, the air is going to push this down in the back here because it's going to hit this little lip in the back, and it's going to hold the tip up so that it flies even longer, or glides, I should say. We're not technically flying. I think this is technically gliding, but whatever. Mincing hairs. So now I'm going to put my business card back in, or your playing card, whatever you got. And this is what it should look like. You should have it balanced right here. You don't have to worry so much. Actually, the business card is weighing mine down just a tad, so definitely check on that. I'm going to add 1 penny to my front just so that I get my center of gravity back. So definitely check that, but you should have a slight little uplift in the back there to keep the nose of your glider up. Hold on, I'm having some technical difficulties with tape apparently. Oh well, I'll just have to work with this. Alright, this might be a little too heavy because I used, it's like double tape here. Let me just double check here. Alright, that's good. So I have my card here to balance it so that it flies straight, and I have my center of gravity so that 75% of the body is behind the center of gravity right there. So now I'm going to go into another room because I need more space to fly this because I'm very, very certain that this is going to fly pretty far. So I'm going to walk back down the hole a little bit. I just want to show you again how to fly this. So I'm going to keep my fingers at the mark where my center of gravity is. I'm going to keep it over my head. Now my goal is to release it going straight. I don't want to do something like this. If I do that, it's just going to flop to the bottom. If I do this, it's going to like fly up and then flop to the bottom. So remember, we're gliding, not really flying. So you want to get it to glide straight through the air. So my goal is, phoom. There's another way that's even more difficult. You take a finger here and you kind of do one of these. It's a little tougher to learn though, so I'm just going to glide this like this. So let's see what happens. Alright, I'm way back here. Alright, we have flight. So you see it flew pretty straight up until the end and then it just flopped down to the ground. But I got a little decent amount of distance. It flew straight. You know, the tip stayed up in the air. So that's your project. You know, take some pictures of what you drew. You can even play around with it and draw all over it and decorate it if you want. And mess around with it and, you know, maybe take a video of you flying it. Remember, don't throw this. Don't glide this at your siblings or anyone else. You know, don't glide this. You know, this probably won't break anything, but you really don't want to like glide this in the direction of something that might be fragile and could fall off a shelf and break and shatter, and then your parents are going to be really mad at you. So glide this in a nice safe area. Even try it outside, see what happens if you catch the wind and see how far it goes that way. So have fun, be safe, and please take pictures or videos and share them with us. We'd love to see what you made. And I'll see you in another month with another grab and go kit.